Thank you all for joining us for this on-demand recording at Interos' inaugural Risk Intelligence Summit from 2024. We're excited to have you here with us today, and we look forward to seeing those registrations for next year's summit in 2025. You can look at the agenda and the day from the 2024 summit at the URL listed on this slide. A special thank you to our sponsors for helping us bring the summit to life. We have Platinum sponsor MasterCard, Gold sponsors Carasoft and Dun & Bradstreet, and Silver sponsor the Cyber Guild. And with that, we'll dive right into our keynote session that kicked off our inaugural conference, the System of Record for Supply Chain Risk Intelligence, featuring Interos' Chief Executive Officer, Ted Krantz.
News into CNN. A major hurricane is barreling toward Florida.
ILA union president, the guy who called the strike, Harold Daggett, leading the strike.
After a day of worldwide IT chaos caused by a global outage.
For the second time in as many days, an unprecedented, shocking attack on the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Today.
Let me get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our privilege to be here today with some of the finest thought leaders in the industry. I want to recognize a few select speakers. We've got Bartley Richardson from NVIDIA. We have Nathan Rogers from JP Morgan Chase. Renee Wynn, NASA. Retired four-star General Paul Nakasone. We've got thank you. We have select customers including Delta Airlines, Baker Hughes, Bechtel, US Navy, TD Bank, and MasterCard. We are here to relaunch the company. This next chapter is about supply chain lifecycle risk intelligence. We're taking this platform that's recognized by some of the best industry leaders across lots of different market segments. Half of the business is federal, half of the business is commercial. We decided to blend this event and have both constituents in the same room. Hopefully there's some good learnings from that. We also have some prospective customers, partners, advisors, and investors in the room. All right, so with that, to set the stage, I don't know if everyone in the room had a chance to see the Harvard Business Review article that came out from David Garfield, but the title summarizes it all. Supply chains belong at the top of a CEO's agenda. Okay, a couple of headlines. Last week, we announced $40 million in funding from Blue Owl. Super exciting chapter for us. This will be used as a combination of product-led growth on the vision, which we're going to go through today, as well as fueling a multi-vector go-to-market approach. We have announced that we are live in the SAP Ariba store as of this morning. We have a strategic partnership with Dun & Bradstreet. They're in the audience as well. So we also have a direct sales organization under Chris Lee. So you'll see the Interos product in a variety of different capacities in the market, embedded on platforms or directly with us, lots of options available. I also want to note that we have our first release of contextual AI. So we have a conversational insights product called Ask Interos that was announced this morning as well. So it's a super exciting opportunity to kick off a few new products and share our vision with you on the same day. Last but not least, we do have a new member of our board, Frank Verticana. I'm sure that there are a number of people in the audience that know Frank by reputation or maybe personally. Frank was at Mandiant. He's done 2 IPOs, a lot of different acquisitions, was part of the $5 billion Google acquisition with Mandia. So we're excited to add Frank to the board. All right, bunch of exciting announcements for us. I want to start today's conversation by setting the stage in terms of the stakes and the magnitude of the moment. I had our team pull together some stats, some macro stats out of the Interos platform and share them with you today. So these are all based on the S&P 500, but the average enterprise has 1,700 direct suppliers. Pretty staggering. Really staggering would be a couple of customers of ours, Google at 40,000 and Disney at 19,000. Again, S&P 500, 1.5 million supply chain relationships through Tier 3. A couple of notable customers that use Interos, Walmart at 2.3 million and Microsoft at 2.1 million. Okay, there's an advantage to being on a platform like Interos in terms of crowdsourcing the data, having full participation, again, from so many different industries, also a very large federal business. And what's interesting is that the shared supplier scenario in these verticals is almost 50%. It's pretty crazy how much overlap there is in each individual vertical. Furthermore, the adjacent industries are highly correlated. You've got aerospace and defense and oil and gas that share a lot of overlap. Another example would be high tech and financial services. So this shared supplier network really gives us an ability to drill in with more specificity in terms of what we're going to do to illuminate opportunities across the platform moving forward. Doesn't mean that everybody has the exact same risk profile with their suppliers, but will allow for some configuration. We're going to talk about a bring your own data approach in this next chapter with Interos that will help tune the data specifically for your needs. Okay, catastrophic events. When my team pulled this data, I was like, that can't be right. But it is. 8,400 catastrophic events since January 1st, affecting 82.4 million companies. Staggering. Here's the breakdown of those individual events. A lot of press and headlines recently over Hurricane Helene and Milton. I'm from California. The Park Fire was the 4th largest in California history, affecting almost 430,000 acres. And multiple, unfortunately, earthquakes, magnitude 7, very disruptive to manufacturing in particular. Chile, Taiwan, and Japan all unfortunately impacted. Also, cyber incidents on the rise. Look at this number. You can see the impact from Tier 1 to Tier 3 again. This is only going to get worse, unfortunately. It's important to keep in mind this affects both digital and physical supply chains alike. And, more notably this year, the combined impact of the Microsoft and CrowdStrike incident affected 700,000 companies and 49 million customer relationships through Tier 3. That's from our data. Next, another component of the risk factors that we measure that's on the rise exponentially. Restrictions. These are restrictions by the U.S. Commerce, Treasury, and State Department. It's a 21x increase over the horizon we have here from 2020. Pretty staggering when you think about those statistics. And we anticipate that will only go up, independent of whatever the administration is moving forward. I think that we're going to see more regulation in terms of managing the supply chain. Okay, rounding it out, we talked about the catastrophic risks. I mentioned cyber risk. There are 4 other risk factors that the Interos platform provides value to: ESG risks, broader regulatory risk, geopolitical risk, and financial risk. A couple of customers that I want to highlight here. Cooper Health, during the course of COVID, like many in that vertical, suffered a great deal of stress and anxiety over their supplier network during a life-threatening situation, right? We take that responsibility very seriously here at Interos when we're working with that vertical in particular, right? The stakes are high. Cooper Health is a company that we have a lot of passion for. We do have Dr. Tom Runkle on a panel speaking later, so thank you, Tom. But Interos was brought in to manage those mission-critical supplies, right? IV fluid bags, masks, hospital beds, and the like. Another one I want to call out in this day and age, unfortunately, the Hezbollah pager attack. When you think about the world moving forward with the potential of infiltration and potentially weaponization of the supply chain, very different game. The stakes are going up. And last but not least, the longshoremen's strike, potential impact to 67 million trade records, 200,000 companies in the US at risk. So lots of different pressure points around the supply chain, all of which Interos brings together to help mitigate risk. So in summary, we're talking about a $3 trillion global economic impact that we are fortunate enough to be a part of and drive immense value to, again, some of the best and most strategic customers in the room and potential customers. Okay, now I don't think at this point anyone would argue that you can't measure this, you can't try to manage your supply chain and all the risk factors that we talked about. You really have three choices. You can build it yourself, and you can look at the statistics here. The odds are not very good. Most of the prospects that we work with are trying to manage it in-house, and those are where we get most of our initial customers onboarding with Interos. Than anybody in the market. We believe we have the best UX. So I think that there is some distinction in the market that we have, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do to up our game and maintain that lead and perhaps stretch from a leadership perspective on innovation and ultimately commercial value that we provide you. Okay, getting into the product a little bit. I mentioned the knowledge graph, but you're talking about a knowledge graph containing 200 million plus companies and 11 billion relationships. It's a beast. Companies taking almost 300 million in funding. The vast majority of those investments have been into the product. You're going to see some really nice visualization. I'm going to walk you through the demo and some of our new products as well as the vision in a minute, but we're really proud of the product that we built. And again, about 100 customers, essentially in the Fortune 1000, already on board with Interos. Okay, in the room, obviously you've met myself, Chris, Yardley. Jason's in the room, he runs finance. Daryl runs legal. Nicole's in the room with partnerships. David Taylor's in the back of the room helping drive my demos. He runs corp dev. Stephanie Carter runs our people team. And last but not least, Jennifer Bisigli, our founder, who's been a big part of not only what we've built historically, but who we will be in the future. So thank you, Jennifer. On the board side, super distinguished board, lots of industry expertise. Dave DeWalt and Night Dragon, Ted Schlein, Nick Beam, those three work a lot together. I mentioned Frank. And then ultimately, we're very privileged to have one of the best CISOs in the world with Phil Venables from Google. So this is the board that guides us and the team that runs the company. All right, getting into the product, I talked about the applied AI, the platform that we're building. When we say we want to establish our position in the market as the system of record for supply chain risk intelligence, predominantly what we're talking about is maintaining the integrity of that user interface. That the Interos platform is front and center in terms of the visualization of those opportunities that are most important to you to drive down risk. Watchtower is our first foray into combining your data, your first-party data, with our market data. Some of our most valuable customers who are in this room that are also part of our customer advisory board have been challenging us to do more, and you're going to hear more about how we're going to incorporate that. But you're going to be in a better position to take advantage of opportunities by consolidating those data sets and using applied AI to draw out opportunities that you can't see independently looking at your data and then another desktop with our third-party data set on it. We can combine those and make the solution a lot more robust. Last but not least, on the right side, we'll get into the visualization when I drive through the product, but lots of green, yellow, red indicators across those risk factors. Really well done in terms of geospatial mapping capabilities. Our customers love that functionality. You can kind of come into the data set either direction. And then, as I mentioned too, with the different platforms that you can consume Interos as well. It's on SAP Ariba now. ServiceNow, the iScore is present. It's on Coupa. It'll be with D&B. We've really established our iScore essentially as the currency for managing your risk. All right, so David, let's go through the product. All right, quickly, I'm going to navigate here. I talked about the green, yellow, red, and all those indicators over here. You can see your risk factors and the scores associated with that. We have activity tracking and kind of team work and communications within the product, so you don't have to jump out and send emails, so you can set up your team structures there. You can also set up grouping of your suppliers in a way that makes sense for you. So there's some nice out-of-the-box configuration. In this particular case, we're going to run through a pretty typical due diligence scenario that our customers run through. So we're going to click here on this supplier, high-risk target. You can see the summary and overview of that supplier. Now I can drive into the risk factors, and you can independently see all 6 risk factors of our product. Now we're going to highlight the finance one since that score is lower. Again, you have a definition here. You can drill into that risk factor with more specificity, and you can see all the supporting sub-factors there as well. So this is a pretty typical use case for our customers to go do due diligence. Alternatively, you can come at the data, as I said, from a mapping perspective. Here's my global supply chain. You can see the concentration of the suppliers across the globe. David's going to come over here and click and expand this through tier 3. Going to highlight that. Going to blow that out. We're going to drill in on China. Now you can see the path of the storm here, impacting potential suppliers. So nice insights there. You can figure out what you might want to do from a risk mitigation perspective. And since we're looking at China, we might as well look at potential restriction lists, forced labor entities and concerns there. So we're going to drill down on that. And here you will see the forced labor concern that David's highlighting down here. Oops. And click into it. This is another view of the data that our customers really like, right? It's a really nice, clean look from tier 3 back into tier 2, impact, and ultimately tier 1. Pretty clear line, but nice to be able to see those associations. All right. Now we're going to show the SAP Ariba Store product. So we're now living in the SAP Ariba UX. You can see the summary here in terms of potential risk. You can see that one of the suppliers is at risk. You can also see over on the middle section, the SAP structure rather different than ours. Instead of 6 risk factors, they're trying to really get you into 4 buckets there. So the data is distributed that way. And we're going to click on that. This is really nice. It's a nice time series snapshot of our risk factors and the different data driving that down below. You can see those risk factors and get into any particular category that you might want. You can also go back out here, and we've created a report with the restricted lists attached in here and embedded. You click into that, or alternatively, you can dive out to the Interos platform directly out of that product. So simple, elegant, great way to get started with Interos embedded in the Ariba store. All right, the other product that we're announcing today that I want to walk you through as well, this product, again, our first contextual insights product that we've built, we will use this product to do a lot more of the core navigation in the product. Look for it to help drive workflow, suggestions across the data set and pointing you in the right direction, or even more importantly, navigating you back to your home screen. So there's some things there that we're going to take to the next level. But I'm going to have David dive down on this one here. Show me all of the companies in a specific country. I'm going to click on that. We're going to look at the companies in China again. Going to pull this up and watch the contextual AI deliver back the results. So 72,500 plus suppliers. Which of these are in tier 1? And then David's going to figure out which risk factor we want to isolate on here on that side. All right, so we're looking at the restrictions list. And then here are the associated restrictions. One more. Let's look at which catastrophic events have been impacted by my ecosystem group over the last 30 days. Click on that. All right, we're going to look at tropical cyclones and the impact over the last 30 days. Again, these are all questions that our customers currently have raised as frequent use cases. Now I'm going to do some analysis over here across tier 3. We're looking at the tropical cyclone and the severity levels associated with that. And now we're going to look at Milton and isolate in on that specifically so you can see the path from Milton, the potential impact to my supplier cohort groups in this geographical spread here. You can drill into that. Look into these 23. And now you can take a look and visualize, again, the map and the higher level view of that relationship thread across tier 3 back into tier 1. So in this particular case, you've got the tier 3 out here into one tier 2 into a pretty complex nucleus of tier 1. Nice and clean, easy navigation. And again, look for us to do more with this product to help you navigate the flows and find what you need effectively. All right. So now let's get into the vision here a little bit. We're going to be moving and shifting our focus from best-in-class real-time map and monitoring capabilities to the best-in-class in terms of delivering with contextual AI and applied AI the like, giving you opportunities to look at pulling down risks with suggestions and insights that are forward-leaning into the predictive realm. Now, it's going to take us quite some time to get very precise with those predictive signals. They have to be stored just like our data now to be in a position where you can really activate that next level of insights. Today, our customers are on this stack, and this stack will remain in place. You can use Interos Resilience by itself. I showed you Watchtower earlier, which is that ability to essentially pull and kind of remove signal to noise, those supplier relationships that are most important to you, put them at the forefront of your dashboard so that you can work on those in more daily active or weekly active use cases. And then, of course, iScore today, industry standard across all these different platforms. Today, it's your score only. All right, so here's what we're working on. And as recently as yesterday, we met with our customer advisory board, some of the finest in the industry that have been with us a long time. We had a real spirited discussion about how far we can push the envelope and what some alternative approaches might be that also drive value. It's pretty clear, even intra-industry, the tolerance for how far and how bold you might want to go with applied AI is a bit different, so we have to factor that in to our calculus. And then we have also provided an opportunity here to go lighter with the AI, and let me walk you through that. So the lighter version that we're going to work on will be more of an assist AI agent type of profile. What we're wanting to do there, based on feedback from our advisory board, is really focus more on enabling the research and planning functions, which makes a ton of sense. It's a softer, lighter function, well in advance of any concerns that you might have, and we can do a really good job of delivering that pretty quickly and adding value and enhanced value as someone essentially as a wing person over the individual in your organization who's running Interos, helping guide you to prepare for these events that you see from a forecasting perspective. Alternatively, we will go bold and we're going to push the envelope on going all in on suggestions, capturing those suggestions, working with these platforms, SAP, Coupa, Blue Yonder, D&B, and the like, and really try to get to a point where we have so much signal integrity over time based on the suggestions that we're making that we actually know what plays to run. Then we get to a point where we have such a high degree of certainty on the play to call that we can potentially work on the integration side with those platforms. Today, even when we're surfacing those opportunities in the Interos platform, there's no actionability today in Interos. It is simply a recommendation, a suggestion. Obviously, the teams are going to discuss it and determine whether it makes sense to take action on it or not. Now, what we will want with the use of clean rooms over here, this is a very important component of bring your own data at scale. And what we'll want there is the assembly of your data, configuration. You'll be able to define users, restrict access components based on the user profile and the persona in the organization. You'll also be able to help us capture what actually worked and didn't work when we surface those suggestions. So we can inventory those, get them in the training data set, and be able to take advantage over that over some period of time and get the algorithm so tight that you can actually trust the signal. That'll take some time. That's probably 2, 3, 4-year horizon. But nonetheless, we're confident with that orchestration, just as we're doing now with clean rooms or with Watchtower now, that with clean rooms and even more robust first-party synergies, that we're going to illuminate more opportunities and a little bit more forward-leaning than our data set provides today. Now, all of this from a scoring perspective will be focused on this life cycle above. We're going to drive essentially from setup in the Interos platform to offering remediation opportunities, because now what we're going to do, getting back to iScore, is it's not only going to be your score, we're going to benchmark it. Going to benchmark the data so it has an industry orientation on it, and you'll be able to see where you sit in your industry and what opportunities you might have available to you by, again, crowdsourcing and sharing that data. I also want to be clear, in the clean room, that's anonymized and aggregated data. And you can do that safely in a private cloud. Perhaps we even use your cloud and pass the data through. So there's several different implementation considerations to take into mind in terms of how we actually implement that. Or you can be all in on our platform and use it, as we'll show in a minute, on kind of the bold vision moving forward, to actually draw down, mitigate that risk, and capture the ROI and use it as your primary navigation and workflow tool. All right, let's show them, David. So this is a mock-up of our vision demo that, again, we shared with our advisory board just yesterday. This is our general taxonomy. This is essentially the product that we have today, but we're building out an underlying taxonomy underneath that so that we can, again, pin the iScore to it, assemble the data in a clean room, and then we're in a position where we're able to take advantage of those opportunities in a much more effective way than we do today. We also have to get historical trends into our product. That's something the team is working on releasing. I know we have a lot of customers right now that have been asking for that. That's coming. We need to build out and elongate the trend line, but nonetheless, we realize the importance of trends, adjust the iScore, clean rooms. Those are kind of the dynamic 3 components we need where we're truly ready to drive predictive value. So you can use the general taxonomy, or David, go ahead and drive into the vertical piece. So you'll see us start to package vertically and really try to tune the data set here. So he's going to go into manufacturing, and then we'll have a sub-taxonomy underneath that will pull this data in. David's going to drive that now. You can click on these different elements and tune the data a little bit more. This all needs work and tuning with our advisory board participants. Okay, now you're at a point where you're actually pulling the data in, potentially from the clean room. The segmentation of the data in the Interos platform, as we just kind of laid it out, and we're going to bring it together. Now, in this particular case, what byproduct will surface are product categories. We'll actually be able to get to a product category level and provide a little bit more value downstream into that workflow and tie that into the supplier-based data that we have today. All right, cool. Then the data comes back. This visualization is great. You can always see at some point the value. We're trying to illuminate the value at all times in terms of the flow of the vision demo. And then there's an opportunity that surfaced here that is more remediation. The AI caught it. It looks like, you might have a deforestation opportunity that we saw across your vertical. You haven't taken advantage yet. And we're going to make a recommendation for the team to investigate that and check it out. All right, now you're in a position to be onboarded. Now, when we're able to pull this off, we're talking about providing immediate value to onboarding clients with these capabilities by truing up to benchmark. That's something that, light years better than what we've done before. The value is very clear, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time, maybe perhaps months or a few quarters. But we're talking about weeks in terms of driving down your risk factors with this launch. Now, this is the new navigation page, very different from the prior one, much more AI-based. You see the contextual signals here from Ask Interos. This risk digest here in the middle, that is replacing Watchtower in the next version. So Watchtower will live within that clean room container. Same type of thing. You can profile it, select the suppliers that are most important to you, and drive your workflow from there. You also see this area here on the right side where we're going to do our best to try to illuminate that risk burn down and ROI perpetually through the life cycle of the use of the product. You can also see now that we have product categories brought in, we can do the same thing in green, yellow, red, indicate there and get much more specificity across your supply chain incorporating those product categories. Now, in this particular case, David's going back up to the top, and you can see that your company is actually trailing benchmark by about 6 points. Here we can identify, just like we can in the core product today, a couple of the risk factors that are more notable. In this particular case, it's cyber and finance. Now we're going to drill into that opportunity. And again, a lot of emphasis on the quantitative aspects that we see within the data set. In this particular case, we see potential finance risk to really essentially the, solvency or the ability of that particular supplier to stay in business. Maybe there's low cash reserves, something that you have to investigate, perhaps consider alternative suppliers as well. So David's going to click on that. It's going to initiate some workflow. And you can see here that we adjusted our I score if the team in fact did take action on it. Okay, last, now I've looked at my score, I've improved that. I'm above benchmark. I want to look at my supplier ecosystem as well. Here I'm going to go into my risk register and I've identified some key suppliers that are at high risk. I'm going to click on that. And again, you can see the breakdown here, all of the, the debt coverage and the financial opportunity in the model. And then again, the alternative supplier suggestions that you might take advantage of. And then, of course, you have an opportunity to mitigate the risk. All right. We've worked really hard on piecing together a vision that we're extremely proud of. We know it's bold. We can't do it alone. We've got to do it with our customers. We need your feedback. If you're interested in learning more and leaning in, please let us know. We can only take so many Lighthouse participants. It looked from the CAB that we have a good number of participants already, but we couldn't be more excited to serve you next generation innovation with immense commercial value, helping your teams be more efficient, giving them the opportunity to work more on strategic things and let us pick up some of these opportunities with the AI and enable your teams in a much more powerful fashion with this AI assistant, or potentially getting to a point where those predictive signals are of such high quality you can trust them, and we send it to a procurement or supply chain system of record to execute. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining us for this on-demand recording at Interos' inaugural Risk Intelligence Summit from 2024. We're excited to have you here with us today, and we look forward to seeing those registrations for next year's summit in 2025. You can have a look at the agenda and the day from the 2024 summit at the URL listed on this slide. You can catch up on almost all of the sessions from the day, apart from the keynotes, and we've included a selection of these panels for on-demand viewing here. Simply head to info.interos.ai/summit 2024-on-demand, which is also listed here on the slide, and you can hear from leaders at ESG Book, Baker Hughes, NVIDIA, MasterCard, Delta, Accenture, JP Morgan Chase, TD Bank, and more. Thank you all for joining us. We are here to help to reduce your risk at scale and to secure your supply chains. Scan this QR code to get in touch today for a free risk assessment, and we want to thank you all from Interos.